Hello, everybody. Here I am again, and I found the quote I meant to finish yesterday's show with. I'm just going to quickly do that first. So this is from Not, and it's continuing on about what Gurdjieff was saying about God and the divine source. He who walks in the way of God is distinguished by five things. One, he is free from anxiety about his daily needs. Two, everything he does is done for the glory of God. Free. He struggles constantly with his weaknesses and negative feelings. 4. He strives to remember himself always and in everything. And 5. He remembers that he is mortal and may die at any moment. And we may die at any moment, and we want to be prepared for that death. But all the other 1 to 4s are to help yourself getting through your everyday life. And being free from anxiety about your daily needs, or when you're working on yourself, when you're self-remembering, that anxiety should dissipate, because instead you're becoming attuned as to what it is you should be doing with your needs. And we do everything for the glory of God. As I was saying yesterday, we're here to do the divine's work and to be the divine and keep the divine system going round and round. And we do struggle constantly with our weaknesses and our feelings. There is no that never ends. Like when you start doing this work, you think, oh, I'm going to be free of all this kind of thing. You're not until you become real I. And we've got to strive to remember ourselves always and everywhere. So I was going to discuss a bit about duty, which is the duty towards what you're doing with your life and hopefully working your duty towards God. And I was going to start with a Not quote. So Not discussing Beelzebub's tales to his grandson, the book that Gurdjieff wrote, which is all about Beelzebub and his grandson Hassin. And Hassin's asking him all these questions about what life is, about our planet, about the cosmos and so on, and what one should be doing with life, how does one develop. So Not saying, when we begin to ask ourselves with remorse, like Hassin, how can I pay for my existence and for all that others have done for me? Then we begin to become aware of genuine being duty. And genuine being duty is when we realize what we are actually doing with our lives. What I was saying in the 5 things we should be doing for ourselves, being free from anxiety about my daily needs, doing everything for the glory of God, and struggling with my weaknesses and negative feelings, striving to remember myself, and remembering that I am mortal in this body, in this life. So acquiring your genuine duty, which is part of the development, is what will start occurring in yourself when you're working on yourself. And coming from all and everything, Gurdjieff discusses a lot about all the divine teachers, and he's talking about Buddha here. Conditions in which, as the divine teacher Buddha supposed, the said endurance towards others, manifesting displeasing to oneself, could alone crystallize in their common presences that Partkdolgduty, which in general is necessary for all free-centered beings. And Partkdolgduty is a word that Gurdjieff uses in Beelzebub's Tales about working with yourself, but how you then manifest to others. And some people put it towards the idea of, be kind to others, do to others what you would like done to yourself, that kind of thing. And remembering that kind of thing, it's called the golden rule. Remembering that kind of thing when you're with others helps you to deal better with how people react to you and how you act towards other people. And carrying on with all and everything, if the free brain beings there, thanks to their being Partkdolgduty, that is to say, thanks to their conscious labours and intentional sufferings, ever attain anything, then not only do they utilise these for their good of their own being, but also a certain part of their attainments is transmitted, as with us, by inheritance and becomes property of their direct descendants. And I'm sure you've read in the Bibles or in some other theologies that there's this idea that the sins of the fathers come down upon us and carry on through the generations. So if the sins of the fathers can do that, then also doing good, doing your part dog duty will also carry on through your generations if you can make that happen, make that energy occur within yourself and crystallize yourself in that way. And Gurdjieff talks about the being obligonian strivings. And these are, so I'm going to read these out to you. Again, there are 5. The first striving, to have in that ordinary being existence everything satisfying and really necessary for their planetary body. So this is what we need for living on this life, for this world, and how we act in this world and pass on our actions. 2, the second striving, to have a constant and unflagging instinctive need for self-perfection in the sense of being. So we want to be continually working on ourselves. We want to do it. We have to have that need. And this comes back to Gurdjieff's I can and I wish, the I am. And you wish to work on yourself to become a more perfected person. The third striving, the conscious striving to know ever more and more concerning the laws of world creation and world maintenance. And one has to look at how the world and the universe works. And I was talking before about the reciprocal maintenance, how everything eats itself and everything works upon itself and makes everything else work. Everything has a reason to be here on this planet or on any planet in the universe or in the universe. So studying the world maintenance and the world creation is an important part of this kind of teaching, because it gives you the whole of everything. You're looking at everything, not just the microcosmos, which is yourself, but you're looking at the macrocosmos as well. So the fourth striving, the striving from the beginning of their existence to pay for their arising and for their individuality as quickly as possible, in order afterwards to be free to lighten as much as possible the sorrow of our common Father. And I was saying in a other show about how we're here to help work for the divine and to lift the sorrow of the divine, his endlessness, as he's called in Beelzebub's tales. Why do we need to help release the sorrow of the divine? That's something I'm still pondering on myself, but I believe it's to do with we all work together, then we can help the divine go forward in whatever the divine's path is, unknowable to us, and we can help ourselves in our path and our continuation in going forward. And we want to do this quickly because our lives are quite short. And as Gurdjieff says, we don't know if we'll be able to do this in the next life. If we come back, if there is such a thing as reincarnation, we might not get these chances in the next one. If it's recurrent, we might not follow the same path again and miss out. So we need to really work on it in this life. This is our opportunity. Don't leave it till tomorrow. So the fifth, striving. The striving always to assist the most rapid perfecting of other beings, both those similar to oneself and those of other forms, up to the degree of the sacred Mat Futar, that is, up to the degree of self-individuality. And I was talking about levels in another show, and this is another level of yourself. As you're working on yourself, you'll feel yourself change over time. It's not a ta-da, it's a subtle change, and we move up the levels, like the initiations of alchemical processes or mystical schools and things like that. So we're doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for everybody else, because when we work on ourselves, then we can project and put it onto others, and hopefully others will either learn from us or feel that energy and perhaps work on themselves. But we're also doing it for the cosmic creator. And all this is to do with the action of all the results of our doing Partkdolgduty. And by doing this, we are then working towards consciousness and conscious labours and intentional sufferings. Intentional sufferings are when we take on what's happening towards us, whether they're negative actions towards us or things going wrong. As I was saying in a past show, once you start working on yourselves, you don't fall into that kind of thing. You start being aware of it when it happens to you, and you can look at it in a different way and hopefully deal with it in a more positive, proper way. So this is also from All and Everything. In the functioning of whose waking consciousness, thanks to the frequent actualization of being Partkdolgduty, there had participated the data which had remained in his subconscious for the engendering of the divine impulse of conscience. So by doing your duty and doing your Partkdolgduty, your conscience is also working and becoming more alive, and you're listening to it. Well, we have it all in us, but most people kind of ignore it. They can hear it in their ears and they just look away from it or ignore it and get on with what they think is, or follow other people or do what other people are doing, when really we need to be doing what we think is right. What we want to do is what our conscience is telling us. And I'm just going to go back over a little bit of what. So this is from All and Everything. I begin to actualize all manifestations differently from other biped animals, consciously, and moreover with an instinctive sensation of the two blended impulses of self-satisfaction and self-cognizance incorrectly and honorably fulfilling my duty to great nature. And again, that's coming back down to your conscience as well, of realizing that what you're doing is the right thing for the cosmic reciprocal maintenance of everything going on. And we, going back to having conscience talk to you in your ear or in your head or wherever it is, that's letting us know when we're doing the right or the wrong thing, or whether we're developing ourselves in the right way, because you can develop yourself in a wrong way, which hopefully none of us are doing. All right then. Try to convince the unconscious parts as if they were conscious, that if they hinder your general functioning, they, in the period of your responsible age, not only cannot fulfill the good that befits them, but your general presence of which they are a part will not be able to be a good servant of our common endless Creator, and by that will not even be worthy to pay for your arising in existence. And we get distracted all the time. Our thoughts come in, emotions come in and try and distract us from what we're doing. You think, oh, I could work on myself tonight. Oh no, I just watched that DVD on, some blockbuster film that probably won't teach you anything. Or, they're good to relax on sometimes, just to have a little sit down and relax from everything and let your mind shut down. And then your subconscious comes up and starts telling you things, and your conscience, hopefully. We're distracted with day-to-day things that happen. I know we all have families that distract us from it. Obviously our families are important, so we must make sure we do our duty towards them, and other things come and distract us away from whatever we're supposed to be doing, like including eating healthily and things like that. We all want to eat healthily. I myself don't eat takeaways, but now and then I don't mind a chicken sheesh just to have something a bit naughty. Just don't eat rubbish food that's not really food. So realization of being Partkdolgduty alone enables a being to become aware of genuine reality. That consequence of the property of the organ kunda buffer, which I spoke to before, was put into us and distracted us and gave us an imaginary way of living, which has been taken away, but for some reason us humans still love it, even though it's not there now. It's like it's programmed into us. So I'll just read that again. The consequence of the property of the organ kunda buffer, which enables them very easily and without any remorse of conscience not to carry out voluntarily any duties taken upon themselves or given them by a superior. Normally the superiors, I suppose, would be like our divine teachers or the teachers that we have that can help us with this As I was saying before about Buddha in Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson, he talks about a lot of divine teachers, and then they're in our religions and theologies everywhere. We find the right teachings. So I was then going to do, so we also have about working with each other. They then began to have relations towards each other only as towards the manifestations varying in degree of a unique common creator, and to pay respect to each other only according to the merits personally attained by means of being Partkdolgduty, that is, by means of personal conscious labours and intentional sufferings, which is what I'm sort of trying to say about here. We want to try and work with people using our being Partkdolgduty, with using our consciousness and our conscience, and being aware of what it is we're doing, remembering that, you know, we want to be kind, we want to be understanding, we want to be there for people, we want to listen. That's an important one, rather than talking. I know I'm doing the talking, but you know, you guys aren't actually there physically for me to talk, have a conversation with. Maybe one day I'll work out how to do this live thing and we can have a Q&A or something. Not that I'll have the answers, but we could discuss things. Right, so I can't remember if I've read this one or not, but I'm going to read it again anyway. In the functioning of whose waking consciousness, thanks to the frequent actualization of being Partkdolgduty, there had participated the data, which had remained in his subconscious for the engendering of the divine impulse of conscience. And Gurdjieff talks about how after the Kundabuffer was taken away from us, we still fought with our consciousness, and not our subconsciousness was obviously put down, lower down, but our subconsciousness is the thing that sees everything for real. It's what sees the reality of everything, whereas our consciousness still sees everything unreal. And he discusses Atlantis a lot, especially Atlantis before it fell, obviously, but when Atlantis did fall, there's many ideas as to why, but it seems from Gurdjieff's understanding it was because people were falling into bad ways. So I'll just do this quote again from All and Everything about the beings of the continent Atlantis. Even very wisely and expediently devised the fulfillment of these two being duties, namely the duty of the perfecting of their higher bodies and the duty of serving the most great cosmic trogo auto-egocrat, which is the process of that the divine source's entityness started going when he realized he needed us all to do the reciprocal maintenance. So by doing these duties and working on ourselves, and as we harmonize, as I've said in other shows, we start getting in touch with our higher selves and our higher bodies. So continuing that quote, by uniting them into one and performing them simultaneously. Right, it then goes on about all the different temples and things, and I'll leave that for another day, that one, because that's quite a long quote. So these ordinary free brain beings, us humans, who acquire information about every kind of genuine cosmic fact exclusively only thanks to their being Partkdolgduty, are more competent than any of the angels or cherubim with their prepared being. So there's something special about us humans. We can develop and become whatever is the next stage, which Gurdjieff does discuss in Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson, all the stages and the levels, and in his other books as well. I know Beelzebub's Tales can be quite difficult for some people. I try and see it, when I first read it, as just a sci-fi novel, which had something in it, and then I read it again, looking for all the advice and the teachings in it. And I've got readings on my channel and elsewhere. Internet Archive has them all. So being Partkdolgduty is like having an aim, and Gurdjieff talks about a lot about aims, and I was saying before about going up the ladder, and we don't want big gaps between the rungs. We want lots of little gaps to get us up the ladder, and those are our aims on them rungs. When a man has an aim, he ought to do only what leads him towards his aim, and he ought not to do anything that hinders him from going inwards or upwards towards his aim. So we need to, again, try and ignore the distractions and actually get on and do the work. I know in the Indian system, men that were then taken into the temples, and they didn't go till later in life. They had their families and they had their work, and it's like they got all that out of the way in their younger days, and when they reached middle age or when their children were growing up, they would then go to the temples and learn to become the yogis and the fakirs and such like. Not that I'm saying that we need to wait till we're older, do it at any age. This is the 21st century. Let's go ahead and do things. It is the duty of every man to prepare for the future at every moment of the present, and to right what has been done wrong. This is the law of destiny, and this is what we're aiming for, our destiny. And Gurdjieff says somewhere, and I've still not been able to remember where that is, that we're here to break our astrological chart. We all get born at our individual times. We have our astrological chart that supposedly imprints on us what we're going to do in our lives. But we can break that if we work on ourselves and break that destiny. And instead of having the human life destiny, for want of better words, we can perhaps attain to higher things and move on. So this is from Knott. Araj said, Partkdolgduty is duty in 3 languages. From one aspect, it is an intellectual duty to strive to understand the meaning and aim of existence, an emotional duty to feel the weight of the maintenance of everything existing, and a physical duty to make the planetary body the servant of your aim. Duty is defined by the Buddhists as that which must be done without expectation of merit, but which must be done if we are to earn merit. And again, we don't want our egos to get all excited about all this as we work on ourselves and, pump up our egos, fluff it up and make us feel like we're superior, because we're not. We're just all workers at this. None of us are real men or women. Though if any of you are, let's have a discussion about that at some point. We're attaining to become genuine, real people, and we need to do our duty to make that, to work on it. It's an ongoing task throughout our lives. And then just one more from Knott. The method was that which we call the technique of self-sensing, self-remembering, self-observing. It is being Partkdolgduty, a method so simple yet at the same time so difficult. Why? Because the whole of life, together with things in ourselves, is in a conspiracy to make us to forget, to keep us in a state of sleep. So I hope these little shows help you to find ways to wake up, and hopefully you'll go to the books and the writings, because obviously these are just quotes, and we really need to read the whole things or find people that understand the Gurdjieff work to discuss this with. And I wish you all the best, and until next time,